Great Family here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Welcome. Thanks for joining me in today's video. Now, today's video, I'm going to talk about a soloing headspace, for lack of a better word. We're going to talk about what happens when, I'll say, we get a little bit more advanced. Okay, and so if you've never heard me say it before, I have what I consider levels of sophistication when soloing. I'll say, simplest level is, let's say we're playing a blues in A. We play the A minor pentatonic or blues scale. Either one, they're functionally equivalent, as I like to say. We play that over all three of the chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5. As we get more advanced, we start to accent the major part of the chord. So here's what I mean by that. The one chord in a blues in A is an A7. It has a C sharp, a major third. In our scale, we play a minor third. Now, that's really important for one thing, because it is what gives something a bluesness, right? I don't have a better word. We're gonna coin the term bluesness, right? I could be playing something really simple, G, C, and D, like basic cowboy chords. If I, over that G, if I play a B flat, it's gonna sound bluesy. It's not gonna sound wrong, even though it kind of is wrong. Blues is the same way. Over that A7 chord, we are playing a C natural, a flatted third, a minor third, whatever you want to call it. We are not playing the C sharp that's actually in the chord, okay? I know I'm making a big deal out of this, but there's a reason, okay? So that means if we want to get a little bit more sophistication, we can start to accent the chord a little more by actually using that C sharp instead of the C natural, okay? Using the major third instead of the minor third. Obviously, there's only one occurrence of that chord. The other chords in the blues, the 4 and the 5, the C sharp versus the C is not going to be relevant. So we're only going to do this over the one chord, but I'll show you how we can move it along if you want to. So I'm going to modify slightly how I play my scale. In other words, if I have box 1, and I'm just doing the pentatonic. The blues is the same thing. Just as that one note. Okay, I'm gonna modify it. I'm gonna switch to my third finger here so that I play my flatted third, because the first note is the root, second note is the flatted third. That's important. Why? Because if I slide it up a half step, it becomes the major third. So I really wanna pay attention to that. Then I have my 4, right, which I'd probably play with my third finger. Then I'm gonna slide up. Okay, so I basically just moved this note here from the 8th fret of the 6th string. And I did that because to raise that would be sliding up here. That'd be take me out of position. It's just a pain. It just doesn't work as well, okay? So I'm gonna do it here. There's my 4, there's my 5, there's my flat 7, there's my root, there's my flat third. So there's my third. There's my 4th. Right, there's my flatted 5th, if you're so inclined to play the blues note. The 5, the flatted 7, the root, the flat third. Again, if I want to slide out of position, I can get to the major third, but I'm probably not going to do that. I might bend it up, but I'm probably not going to slide it up out of position. For mostly, for our purposes right now. Of course, you can do this anywhere on the neck, right? Every box, if I were to play, right, box 2, starts on a C. So there's the C sharp, D, E, G, A, C. But I probably wouldn't do it. I'd probably play it here and there, and then I'd be here. Right? So I could play it that way, and you may have to play around with this. Box 2 doesn't lend itself very well to this idea, to be perfectly honest. I might stick more with like box 3. There's my third, flat third, root, flat 7, 5th, 4th, third, flat third, root, flat 7th, 5th, flat 5th, 4th, slide maybe down into the flat third to the third. Again, I can go to those other boxes. I can do this, but let's keep it simple for now, right? box 1. That's all we're going to do. So if I were just to, I'll say, put an A7 chord into my looper, right? Let's just start with this one chord. Okay, of course, I can play the A minor blues scale. And I'm going to make that change. I'm going to go ahead and get my use that 3rd fret down on the 5th string. Right? And you can kind of noodle over this, right? Get your feet wet. Now what I'm going to do is every time I play the C, I'm going to slide it up to the C sharp. Okay? So instead of... I'm going to go 3, 4, slide, slide. Right? So I just got that little extra. Right? Now, at this point, you might be hearing that and you're going, that doesn't sound very cool yet. I get it. I'm doing it as an example. And at first, it's probably not going to sound very interesting. We don't have to change the notes, though. We have to change the rhythm to make it interesting. Again, see, I bend that up. And in case you wonder, I play that all the time. And all I'm doing is playing down the scale, the minor blues scale, but when I hit that flat 3rd, I slide it up. And so it's kind of like, you're going along and it's like the floor is lava when you were a kid, right? You touch that minor 3rd, oh no, I got to get off that, and switch it over to the major 3rd. And boom, all of a sudden, you're still playing, in your mind, you're still playing box 1, okay? But just every time you hit that minor 3rd, oh, you just move it up to the major 3rd, and all of a sudden it starts to really make that chord, the essence of that chord, come out. Now, can we take that even further? We can. Now, if what I've just described, if you're like, man, that sounds tough, that sounds heady, then stop here. Hit pause, hit stop, and go mess with this for a while. Because it's not going to get any easier, right, from here. But it's not going to get more complicated either. Let's say that the 4 chord comes along. A D7 chord, right? Okay, now I could do the same thing up here. Right? I could do it up there, or I could do it here. Now, you may have never thought about this, but a D minor pentatonic or blues scale down here is box 4. So again, I'm going to move that note over to here, and I'm going to go root, 3rd, but I'm going to slide it up a half step, 4th, flat 5th if you want it, 5th, flat 7, root, flat 3rd to 3rd, 4th. I'm not going to reach up for the flat 5th. I'm just going to go to the 5th and the flat 7th. Okay, so now if and of course I could play my A up here too, by the way. So if all I had going on, from my looper was my A, you can practice that up here. Right? And of course you can kind of get the hang of that. But then at some point, we're gonna want to have the D chord. So if I put a D, I'm getting all of the proper notes, right? I'm getting the major third, I'm getting the fifth, I'm getting the flat seventh, all of these things. But in my mind, see, this was a little bit of an easier change. I just went from A minor blues, even though I kept modifying the thirds, to D minor blues, even though I kept modifying the thirds, right? What you'll find, or at least what I have found over the years, is that when I transcribe stuff from the greats, right? Albert King, B.B. King, Freddie King, et cetera, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, you name it. They don't use the 4 minor pentatonic scale over the 4 minor chord. They always modify that flatted third. It's a very simple adjustment, obviously, and you can practice it 1 chord at a time, 1 box at a time, however you want to break it down into something nice and small. And I would encourage you to do it that way. Just pick a single chord in a single position, right? Box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5, whatever. Play through the box, figure out where the flat thirds are, figure out what's going to be the fingering that's going to make sense for you to raise them up by a half step, and practice it. Just play stuff, right? It's going to be the rhythm figures that are going to make it sound interesting. Again, we all play the same 5 notes. So just by changing those notes, I'm not doing anything like that nobody else has done. It's not like I've got some magic wand and I just gave myself some magic new notes. The only thing that's going to make it sound not the same as the next person is how I choose to do things rhythmically. So that's why I always say, play into a looper, play with a jam track. Something like this, it's easiest with a looper because you really want to just practice on 1 chord at a time and get really comfortable with that. When you're really comfortable with 1 chord, let's say A, and you're really comfortable with, let's say, D, then you could probably make the change between them in A blues in A. And of course, if everything falls apart, right? If ever you're like jamming on stage or you're playing with a band or you're jamming over a jam track, if all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I'm lost, I don't know what's going on, you can always go back to level 1, to the A minor blues scale. And you might find, like me and many, many, many other guitar players, you want to go back to that sound. That sound, even though it's, I'll say, fundamental and basic, it's still the blues sound. So I would encourage you, even though, hey, maybe you're playing along and you're making all these modifications and you're tweaking these thirds and making them major, that's great. You should absolutely do it. It's super cool. It's going to sound great. But maybe towards the end of your solo, just go back to the minor blues scale and just play those cool traditional minor blues licks, and you'll probably really love the sound of it. I know I do. When I do it that way, I hear a lot of professional players play that way. It seems to be a thing. So I'll leave it at that. Try this out for yourself. Play around with it. It's definitely something that you need to experiment with. This is a trick I use. I have a course called Soloing Without Scales, where I actually break a lot of these little patterns. I use just these little 4-note shapes. And so, of course, with only 4 notes, it's really easy to know where the third is. So that is kind of a cool little trick. And that is how I make everything major from those little shapes. It's just bend or slide into that major third. And it really, really does work. And if you look at a lot of licks, from like B.B. King or Albert King or Chuck Berry or any of those guys, you'll see this. You'll see, hey, everything's minor except the third. This is exactly what's going on. So try it out, dig it for yourself. As always, I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed. I will leave links near this video if you want to sign up for the email list, get my How to Jam PDF or my 4-note solo, whatever. I'll leave all that stuff somewhere around where you're seeing this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.